All right, well, welcome everyone. And as I said, I'm placing the slides for today in the chat if you haven't received them already. I'm Dr. Francesca Albrezzi. I'm a digital research consultant at the Office of Advanced Research Computing at UCLA. My background is in new technologies, particularly extended reality technologies for arts and cultural heritage organizations and sectors. And I also teach in the digital humanities program at UCLA and internationally as well, and occasionally for the World Arts and Cultures / Dance Department, which is where I got my PhD. But for today's workshop, we're gonna discuss and be learning about NFTs and how to get started in these sort of new digital markets that are cropping up. We'll start with some questions to gauge what people's familiarity is with this type of thing, and then I'll share some basic information about NFTs and blockchain technology, just so that we all sort of have the same foundation in which to approach today's workshop. We'll jump right in after that to creating your own NFT on the OpenSea platform. And I'll cover some alternative platforms and tips as well after that as we wrap up, so that it can give you some additional guidance as you take this into your own practice moving forward. We'll also cover after that how to use Phoenix Miner. So we'll do a Phoenix Miner tutorial so that you can get started with mining your own Ethereum if you're interested in that. And finally, we'll do questions and a quick survey at the very end of this, just to see how you like today's workshop. So with that, let's get started with those questions. So if you would join me either by screenshotting or using this QR code on your phone, or by going to slido.com and using this code to let me know, and these are just the slides for today one last time. This is to let me know, we're going to go back, what you're most interested in learning about today. So slido.com, and the number is 1685 515. Yeah, general beginner info, that's great. We'll definitely cover that. Fundamentals, what are they? Yeah, why people are interested in them? Absolutely. Definitely we'll cover that. What they can bring to new business sectors. Risks and NFTs. We will cover a little bit of that. We'll sort of scratch the surface of that today in our tips afterwards. Yeah, social justice. We won't cover a lot of that today, but I do have some information on that if you're interested, so we can talk after the lecture as well. But absolutely culture, how NFTs are being used. We'll talk about that, the potential, the hype, the ethics, all of this. This is great. So it sounds like we're on track for today in terms of what we plan on covering. So have you ever made an NFT before? This is our second question here. And yes, I will share the slides again, no problem. So let us know if you've made an NFT before. Here are the slides again, if you're just joining us. And feel free to either use the QR code or go to slido.com and type in this code in order to help us respond. So a few of you have created your own NFT before, so this may be a refresher for you, but for those of you who haven't, which is the majority, we'll be learning how to do that on the OpenSea platform. So those who have you used the OpenSea platform before? Maybe share in the chat if you have what platform you used. All right. So most people haven't. Our final question for today before we get started is, do you have any cryptocurrency? Have you invested in this at all? Do you own some cryptocurrencies? Do you use crypto wallets? What's your familiarity there? We see that most people have, actually. Most people do have some cryptocurrency. So that's good news in terms of things like setting up wallets, which we'll do today. All right, so things are sort of balancing out a little bit more here. Well, very cool. Okay, so we'll go ahead and get started for today, but feel free to, oh, yep, we're balancing out more and more as people answer. So we're about halfway even between owning or not owning cryptocurrencies. Um, okay, well, so let's get started with a little background, a little fundamentals about NFT work and cryptocurrency. So NFTs seem to be everywhere now, and you've probably seen this funny SNL video. I've just included it here. You can watch it in your own time if you haven't, but they actually did a wonderful job describing what NFTs are and how they're intersecting with new markets. But NFTs or NFT, I should say, stands for non-fungible tokens. And they are also sometimes referred to as NFTs or Nifty for so singular and plural. So you'll hear that as well. Some people will use that jargon instead. But NFTs use the blockchain technology to allow for the secure transfer and proof that an original piece of digital art has been sold and is now in the possession of the buyer. So it also allows for what we in our history may refer to as provenance of an artwork to be more carefully tracked. So the provenance is the ownership, so the ownership over time, and so we can see who's owned a piece of work or what gallery it went to and then what owner bought it. That's part of the provenance of an object. So essentially, NFTs and blockchain technology allows us to more openly expose that, because galleries for a long time have kept that very secret. So it's meant to be a bit more transparent. The blockchain does this by tracing the unique signature of users and exposing that transfer chain so that anyone on the network can view it, therefore making the digital transfer of assets clear and transparent in terms of ownership. The benefit of blockchain is that it enables a global, secure transfer of private smart contracts between parties that are stored on an open, decentralized network. So, what does that really mean, though? Well, at its most basic level, a blockchain is a list of transactions that anyone can view and verify. The Bitcoin blockchain, for example, contains a record of every time someone sent or received a Bitcoin. With NFTs, the provenance and price history of the original are accessible to all. So the original of these works is identifiable and cannot be replicated, which is why they are called provably rare. While anyone can print out or display an image from the internet, obviously, the image does not belong to them legally, and they cannot trade it on the blockchain because the blockchain ledger could prove their lack of ownership. NFTs help to protect the artist's authorship and improve secondary market possibilities. So those in the digital art world know that it wasn't that galleries weren't selling digital art before, but NFTs have increased the perception of scarcity and value. The ability of NFTs to confer uniqueness has led to a boom in digital art's collectability, defining and concretizing a new evolution of the art market. So James Tarmy wrote about this phenomenon and how it could be compared to the development of the photographic market or the photography market, for example. So like digital art, a photograph can be reproduced over and over from an original negative. Yet despite this reproducibility, not all prints are priced accordingly. Art prices might rise or fall, but become consensus, consensus alone confers value. That's how we end up sort of deciding how much these things cost. And what I mean by this, or sort of talking about values in this way, is maybe what Walter Benjamin in his essay Art in the Age of Mechanical Reproduction was worried about in terms of the proliferation of art through reproductive means that would compromise the aura of the original, or our sense of people actually coming to see something in person because it's been reproduced before or elsewhere. I just want to contrast that, which was sort of a very long time ago now. Walter Benjamin was writing at a very early date in the 1920s. But we might contrast that with the contemporary artist Shepard Fairey, who challenged this idea with his work, Andre the Giant Has a Posse, which was a street art campaign that he started while he was at the Rhode Island School of Design. So using the skater community as a network, he distributed stencils he did of the wrestler, actor, performer Andre the Giant. You might remember him from the movie The Princess Bride. And he did this in many cities across the United States. So eventually this morphed into Obey Giant. The work became a phenomenon due to its repeated placement all over cities. Visual repetition, repeated presence, that's what gave it meaning. So by reflecting on both the work of Benjamin and others like Fairey, we can see that the repetition of an object present in simulacrum, such as facsimiles, reproductions, digital surrogates, it's a complicated one. This is a complicated thing, right? So I just want to be clear here. Buying an NFT does not mean you have the artwork file transferred to you. When you buy an NFT, you are usually buying the unique token on the blockchain connected to or representative of that artwork. So the work can be unique or in additions, but each token is unique to that work. So you're essentially creating a smart contract that has a token, that has a unique identifier attached to it. And that's what your NFT represents. So this is why you can't screenshot or right click and save a digital copy and say that you own it, right? You would no more own it than if you took a picture of the Mona Lisa, essentially, right? So, and great question, George. What is a smart contract? A smart contract is a contract that's essentially a digital contract. It lives on the web. It has a lot of similar stipulations to a contract that you would create with a gallery. If you were buying, you would sign the paperwork to buy and own a piece of artwork. This does the same thing, but in terms of smart contracts, there may be elements in which we'll talk about more in a minute, but things like royalties would be involved. So if it gets sold again, if the NFT gets passed along, that the artist would receive royalties and such. So there's slight differences in smart contracts, but really they're just digital contracts that are happening across these blockchain platforms between artists and buyers. So essentially the token is the paperwork or the legal document that shows you have purchased and are now have ownership of that artwork. So as stipulated by most smart contracts used when launching an NFT, every time the artwork is sold on the blockchain, an artist can receive a portion of the sales in the form of royalties. So in the traditional art market model, a gallery would sell artists' work and the artists make the money off of that initial sale. But if the owner then sells it at auction for double the amount, the artist does not receive any part of that money. So within the NFT market, the artist could be generating passive income every time their artwork was sold, which is closer to a licensing model. So when NFTs are created and sold, cryptocurrencies are used. To create and sell NFTs, you will need what's known as a crypto wallet. This stores your private keys, keeping it safe and accessible so that you can buy, sell, send and receive, or spend your cryptocurrency. I'll show you how to set one of these wallets up in just a minute because we'll need one in order to create our own NFT. But the bottom line of all of this is the creation and exchange of NFTs has been revolutionary in many ways. It has exposed art market sales more openly and shifted the value of digital art drastically. I recommend the documentary Blurred Lines on Netflix if you're interested in learning more about the complexities of the art market. But NFTs are disrupting power balances in the art market in big ways, such as the artist People, who has been selling or sold this NFT artwork, which is actually a collage of many of his different digital artworks together. And this sold for $69 million. And I should note, if it's not just the art market that's being rethought with the application of NFTs. So this is happening across many different sectors. So people are considering the use of NFT technology in the events industry, for example. If tickets were sold as NFTs for a concert, right, the vendors could receive royalties for each resale, or NFT tickets could become collectibles. Ticketing has always been an expensive process, and it's prone to scams, authenticity issues, and the reliance on monopolies. NFTs offer a possible solution, or at least a different solution. The blockchain provides a single source of truth for both organizers and ticket holders, preventing or creating a different avenue, right, for this kind of thing, and hopefully preventing scams. Inevitably, there are things that crop up even in the digital realm. Digital can't solve all problems, but it does change that dynamic in quite a drastic way. In terms of the music industry, for another example, if an artist becomes well known on a platform like TikTok or SoundCloud, they may choose to release their music as an NFT rather than through a label, giving them more of the profits and royalties, and also providing more direct interaction and value to fans. So we'll learn about a little bit later what kind of values are embedded in NFTs that creators can give access to holders of those NFTs in different ways and confer different values for those who purchase them. But people are really rethinking a lot of different industries, things like real estate and the restaurant industry, gaming and fashion, just to name a few. So this is really sort of shifting people's perspective on how we might approach basically investment in people's business. So in some cases, the crypto and art community's eagerness to invest in digital assets have driven some NFT prices sky high, with the most popular NFTs selling for millions of dollars. However, what is often misunderstood is the reason as to why some of these prices or these different pieces cost as much as they do. Many of the expensive projects that you will see often have more benefits than just the artworks themselves, or what's commonly referred to as utility. So utility can benefit users in an abundance of ways, including but not limited to things like private parties or passive income. free NFTs, financial advice, video game currencies, equity in companies, and smart contract functionalities, and more. So there's all different things that people can do through these smart contracts and through the purchase of something like an NFT. So for example, these cartoon monkeys are from a series called Bored Ape Yacht Club, or BAYC. You may have heard this before in the news. And if you own one, you have membership to an exclusive club, which you will have then access to these private yacht parties, and where you can interact with a network of other BAYC owners. So essentially, you're building your network based on owning one of these cartoon monkeys. Nonetheless, I just want to say there are clearly areas that need to continue to be worked out, and there have been pitfalls. So in one case, spoof accounts have been used to auction people artwork that wasn't a legitimate sale. You can read about that here. I'm going to send you an article in the chat. Let's see. Excuse me. In another case, a collective called Global Art Museum created NFTs for paintings from famous institutions, including the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, and released them on the NFT marketplace OpenSea, claiming that the revenue would be shared with the museum. The museum has an open data policy, and the works are in the public domain. But the Global Art Museum was not acting in collaboration with the Rijksmuseum on this, and they stated publicly. So ultimately, the pieces were not put up for auction or sale, and GAM, the Global Art Museum, released a statement that this was just all a social experiment, a marketing ploy for their animated GIF-based art collection based on classic works. But the subsequent conversations that cropped up as part of what GAM was aiming for, and I think really spurred the whole NFT marketplace to understand that there's not a lot of regulation that's currently going on. So how do we think of ownership of virtual items in the digital age? And how do we protect the intellectual property and ownership of others in a marketplace that isn't highly regulated yet? There are still issues to consider regarding digital production or reproductions of public domain works and the potential pitfalls of the blockchain, but which does not have a way of determining if something is in the public domain, for example. These are the types of things when I say there's not a lot of oversight, right, around these areas, and the legal system hasn't really caught up with that. So there's still a lot of work to be done in those types of areas on these platforms. All this being said, this domain offers new options for artists to share and sell their work. There was a great Zoom webinar on NFTs done by the Art Science Center at UCLA back in 2001. And you can watch it for yourself on Vimeo, and it goes into all of this in more detail, and I really highly recommend it if you have the chance to watch it. Also, if you're interested in taking a more in-depth course on NFT production, Professor Casey Reyes in Design Media Arts has been offering courses in this area, and his latest project, Feral File, is a space designed for the new media community to co-create the future of art making, exhibiting, and collecting. So it's very exciting. I definitely recommend you reach out to him too. So today I'm going to show you two different ways of launching an NFT on two different platforms. Really, I'm going to go in depth in one way and then sort of walk you through what you'll need to do in the other, because it'll be a very similar process. But these platforms each have their benefits and drawbacks. There are other options out there too. So if you have additional questions, please let me know. And also, this presentation is canned, just so you know up front. I had to actually put the slides together, screenshot things in order to show you how to set up a crypto wallet. But I've tried to keep it as detailed as possible so that it walks you through each step. And you can feel free to follow along and let me know if you need me to slow down at any point, if you're registering things and I'm going too fast. But you can also just listen and then watch this video and use the slides later on to set things up on your own. So we have those two options. Before I get started, are there any questions about sort of those fundamentals that I covered and what we've talked about thus far? No questions yet?
Yeah, I have a quick question.
Sure.
What would you say, because you talked about sort of this spurring of NFTs, what would you say popularized it? You talked about the Beeple sale, and maybe in the art world, was there, and there could be not be a single sort of event, but what is the, yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, that caused NFTs to take off? That's a great question, Jonathan. So I was talking about NFTs, not NFTs by name, but blockchain technology being a good use for the exchange of digital art back in 2015. And no one was listening to me. Absolutely no one. And people really weren't interested in it as a technology for art making until the pandemic hit. I think there were so many artists that couldn't show their work. And we weren't able to go into museum spaces. We weren't able to go into gallery spaces. And artists and culture sectors were some of the hardest hit because of the pandemic. So it really shifted when people wanted to know what they could do to support artists. A lot of artists took this as an opportunity to sort of start to work out, okay, how can we create a virtual gallery? How can we create virtual marketplaces? And so all of those things that had been put off really caught up quite quickly. And many investors came in and said, well, this seems like it could be a speculative marketplace, and they just threw a lot of money behind it. And that, I think, really shifted and brought this into the public arena and brought it up to what it is now. I really think it was born out of necessity because of the pandemic. I hadn't really seen a lot of discussion about this prior. Some of us were talking about it as a sort of idea, but it was the pandemic that made it possible. So great question.
I also have a question.
Yes, please.
So you were talking about smart contracts.
Yes.
Are those represented by cryptocurrency? Like if you get a coin that comes with a contract, or how exactly does that work?
How does that work? Okay, so different platforms have their own smart contracts built into the platform. So for example, with OpenSea, those contracts are sort of already stipulated and built in. So artists don't have much opportunity to amend or append the contract that's connected to the platform. But there are a lot of other opportunities for artists to do this more in an ad hoc or customizable way. And I'll cover a little bit of this at the end. I also have an article that's linked to that a friend of mine did, who is a successful digital artist who has been doing this for a while and just got into the NFT field. And he actually shares his smart contract language, so you can see that for yourselves and see what he puts together, and I'll point that out for you. But most of the time, it's all built into the platforms that you're using. If you're using any of these major open market platforms. And so you have limited ways that you can adjust those contracts. Now, with bigger galleries, they're working directly with artists to create those smart contracts. So they're much more detailed. And then there's also, I should say, again, more boutique style collectives that are creating their own blockchains and creating their own marketplaces and then there's more flexibility allowed in those communities. So it really depends on what avenue or marketplace you're hoping to join. And I think what we're going to be seeing in the future, in the near future, is that this 10K series we'll talk about in a minute, this sort of standardized way of minting NFTs, has been standardized now. It's been a proven great in some ways. I think what we're going to see is a shift to more customizable and boutique style selling of NFT work moving forward. Though the market did just totally crash, the crypto markets just have really taken a dive recently. So it'll probably, what I thought would be in the next 6 months, it may be a little bit longer than that. But I think that's where it's headed. But great question. I hope did that answer your question?
It did, yeah. Thank you.
Great. Other questions before we move forward? Okay. Well then, let's make our own NFT. So OpenSea is the largest and probably most well-known NFT marketplace. And it is where many of the big collections have been launched, such as CryptoPunks, CryptoKitties, and Bored Ape Yacht Club. You'll notice there's an animal theme to many of these. But you're going to get started by going to create on their homepage. So if you want to follow along, you're going to go to OpenSea.io. Like I said, my presentation is going to be canned, but I will try to provide you links along the way. And everything I do is screenshot here with directions. So feel free to follow along. So once you go to their homepage, you're going to go to create up at the top, right? And now you need a wallet that's Ethereum based. So that means that it's built on the Ethereum blockchain. And we'll start with MetaMask, but you can also use Coinbase now if you have that. There are different options if you have a different wallet that you prefer to use. But the most popular for trading cryptocurrencies is Coinbase, but MetaMask is popular for NFTs and minting NFTs. So we're going to use MetaMask today, but there are a ton of others that are listed. So give everybody a minute to do that. So once you get there, you can download MetaMask as a browser plugin or a phone application by going to the App Store on your device and pick whichever option is best for you. I'll be walking through the Chrome plugin in these slides, but they will be fairly similar to the phone application. If you choose to go that route, just let me know if you have any questions with your install options. And you'll see a plugin, right, shows up at the top in your plugins up here on Chrome, and you can manage them right through your plugins extension browser. So once you install MetaMask for Chrome, then you can, when you add it to Chrome, you'll get a pop-up that will prompt you to add the extension. And it says that it can read and make changes to all websites, which admittedly sounds scary. What this really means is that it will be able to carry over your login information whenever you are on a website that allows you to use your MetaMask wallet. So go ahead and add the extension. It's not going to try to read your information. It just means that it can identify when something can connect with a MetaMask wallet and allow for that to happen. So you'll go to add to Chrome, and you'll say add extension. Does anyone need me to slow down? Feel free to type in the chat, slow down if you need me to. Also, I'm just going to share the slides again in case anybody joined and needs the slides. So if you ever want to find, remove, or manage your MetaMask extension, go to the top of your browser and to the right where you see, or where you type the web, just to the right of where you type in the web address, you'll see a little puzzle piece icon, like I pointed out just a second ago, this thing over here, right? You can see it screenshot here. You can click on that to view your extensions, and then you'll select the pin, right? This little pin here. And that will add it to the bar to the right of your search bar if you'd like it to be visible. So clicking on the three dots next to the pin will let you head back to the extension page and remove the extension. So you have options if you choose to remove it later on, you don't want it always living there or always connected, that's an option as well. Now, once the extension is installed, a page will launch in your browser, and you're prompted to get started with setting up your MetaMask wallet. So you're immediately going to be asked to get started. Are people there? Do people need another minute? Okay. So once you're there, you're going to create a new wallet. So you'll set up MetaMask, unless you already have one, I should say. Obviously, if you already have one, you can use your secret passphrase to link that up into your browser. And we'll talk a little bit about what that secret passphrase is in a minute. But for those who are just starting, you're going to create a new wallet. And if you set up a MetaMask wallet on your phone, then you'll want, then you also want it in your browser. You would go through the import wallet prompt instead. So like I said, if you do it on your phone or if you've done it before, you can use this import wallet. But if you're starting from scratch, you want to create a wallet. Next, you'll be asked if you're okay with allowing MetaMask to collect certain data. And that's really up to you, but they are collecting it to make sure the platform is functioning properly and well for users. So then you'll be prompted to create a password. So go ahead and pick something that's 8 characters long, that's secure, and preferably something that you haven't used before. Think of this as setting up a new bank account and treat it as such. So when you get your passcode, that's really going to be your PIN for your bank account, but this is sort of the login that you would use on a bank's website. So again, it's something that you want to keep very protected. Give everybody a minute to do that. So then you'll be asked to watch this video, and please do and pay attention to all of the information that it shares with you. You'll be given a recovery phrase. Do not share this with anyone, and make sure you save it securely. You will want to print it out or put it on a piece of paper in a place where no one else can have access to it. Like I said, think about this as your bank PIN. This is information that you really, really want to protect because this is essentially the information that you need to get into your account. The words are in a certain order, and you can click to unlock and display them. You'll want to write them down exactly. You'll also download them. You can also download them as a text file using the hyperlinked words in the column on the right. So that's another way for you to get a hold of that passphrase. And obviously you can click here to reveal the words in the actual platform. I've screenshot it here so that you can see that process. Give everybody a minute to do that. Let me know if you have any questions. So once you've downloaded, written down, saved your phrase, you will confirm it by clicking on the words in your phrase in the order that you were provided. It'll look like this. I've scratched out my words, but once you've gone through the whole phrase, the confirm button will light up and you can click it to complete your MetaMask wallet setup. Give everybody. Just let me know in the chat if you're actually doing this live so that I know if you need the extra time. Okay, seems like some people are not doing it live, so all good. We'll keep, okay, you are doing it live, Charlotte. No problem. We'll give you a minute to do that then. And does anyone have any questions while they're setting up their MetaMask wallet? Alexander and Isabella too. Great. Wonderful. Thank you for following along. And feel free, like I said, to just watch and then try this out yourself later. Either way works. Give me a second.
I have a quick question. Have you encountered any literature about this sort of process about recovery phrases? Oh, sorry, it's my 1-year-old.
Yeah, about recovery phrases specifically.
Yes.
And them being sort of hacked, or just this process in general as a secure.
Yeah, both have been hacked, and just how they came up with it. Just kind of it would help.
Yeah, it's an encryption method. It's fairly secure because the phrases are randomly generated when you set up the account. And obviously there's so many different possible iterations that it's a great way for security in that sense. The drawback is that people aren't always very careful with them. So because they're generated on a computer and you can download them as text files, people sort of leave them about and don't think about them in the same way that they think about a bank account, which is why I try to reiterate that as much as possible. Because as soon as someone has that passphrase, they're able to get into your account. So it would be really important to protect it. And that's where we've seen a number of people get hacked, is that as long as they're able to access your passphrase, then they can actually get in and mint things or steal your currency and that sort of thing. I'm also seeing I think another question in the chat. How has the collapse of Terra stablecoin affected the momentum of NFTs, or are the value of coins unrelated to the phenomenon? It's a great question. So the market, right, when the market drops, and you'll see towards the end of this tutorial, I had originally started it 5 months ago. And so when I was minting things then, the cost of one Ethereum or zero point 0.01 Ethereum was roughly $40. When I was preparing within the past week, that 0.01 Ethereum is now only worth $20. So it affects the buying and selling of artwork and what people are listing their works for. So in the same way that it would in a sort of global market, right? When you're comparing different currencies out in the real world, the dollar versus the euro, right? They're not always, sometimes it's stronger than, and sometimes it's weaker. The same thing happens in the crypto markets. It's just more drastic at the moment. It hasn't been quite stabilized. One thing that we will talk about is staking. And that's been a way that a number of companies, cryptocurrency companies, have managed to try to stabilize their cryptocurrencies. So they offer incentives for holding on to your cryptocurrency when it goes up or down. And that helps to sort of stabilize and with market control and things like that. But yes, absolutely, it has affected how much these things are worth in some ways because of what it would fetch, right? If you sold it for like I said, 0.015 months ago, you would get $40. If you sold it for 0.01 Ethereum today, you would only get $20. So it definitely, the crash has affected how much certain things have been worth. And then I'm seeing another question. Can I pay for an NFT with the cryptocurrency of my choice, or is it set up by the seller? That's a great question. We're going to cover that in just a few minutes, Charlotte. So what I can say right now is that it depends on the blockchain that the NFT is set up on. So if it's set up on a Ethereum-based blockchain or a Polygon-based blockchain, then you're going to need to use a certain kind of coin, an Ethereum-based coin, in order to pay for it. If you set it up on a Solana blockchain, which is the other platform that we're going to look at later on today, that requires Sol, which is a different currency. And it operates on a different platform, different blockchain. So you have to have that kind of currency in order to purchase those. And we'll talk a little bit about gas fees too, and gas fees are pretty tricky. So we'll talk about all of this in a minute. Hopefully, just want to, for those who are following along and setting things up as they go, have you had a chance to finish setting up your crypto wallet? Yes, okay, great. So we'll move forward, but what you can always do too, Charlotte, just so that you know, is that there are exchanges, you can exchange currencies just as you would exchange, Taiwanese dollars for US dollars. You can do those kinds of exchanges across cryptocurrencies. It just means that you'll have a transaction fee and you'll have a gas fee usually. So it's not ideal most of the time to transfer your currencies. But there are reasons to do it, and we'll talk about that again in a little bit more. But so now you're going to need to add some Ethereum to your MetaMask wallet by connecting to a debit card, bank account, or other crypto wallet to launch an NFT. And here's why. Gas fees. Now, for later on today, you won't actually need, we're going to do a Polygon mint, so you actually won't need any gas fees immediately. But in theory, you would need to put something in your wallet in order to mint an NFT. So an Ethereum network requires gas to execute transactions. When you send tokens, interact with a contract, or send Ethereum, or do anything on the blockchain, essentially, you must pay for that computation. You must pay for that computation time and that computation effort. So with this basic understanding of gas, one can understand why some users are frustrated paying extra fees in addition to their original purchase. For this reason, Ethereum 2.0, which has been released now. In my notes, again, I started this 5 months ago. It hadn't been released yet. It is now released. And it's being progressively released. So it's coming out slowly but surely. So it's come a long way since then. But this system is aimed to reduce the prices significantly and improve overall efficiency. So different blockchains are set up in different ways that increase certain kinds of computation. So some blockchains are set up for security measures, and are really good at that. Some are set up for transactions and efficiency regarding transactions. Ethereum is one of those. So some are set up for flexibility, right, to allow them to do sort of different kinds of computation and switch around to basically interoperability, to have greater interoperability, right? Some are set up with flexibility in order to do that. So different blockchains have their strength, and that's why there's so many of them. This is also why people have concerns about the environment when it comes to NFTs. Depending on the blockchain setup, the computing power can require large amounts of energy, which negatively affects the environment. And I'm going to include a number, I've included a number of articles about the environmental impact of blockchain on climate, and really our digital infrastructure in general is increasing exponentially and taking a toll on the environment. So there are many people that are interested in this, particularly in relationship to NFT work, and things are being done to address it. So I'll show you again some other options today that are one's on a different platform, one is on OpenSea, but where the gas prices and fees are lower or free, and they're generally more eco-conscious overall. So, but please note that while gas fees can be expensive, they can vary depending on the marketplace value of the crypto platform that you're using. So just like that question that we got earlier today from George, right? It really does depend on the market too. So new markets are popping up every day, including this free option that OpenSea set up not too long ago, using the Polygon blockchain, which you can find under their resources tab in the menu. And now again, there are benefits and drawbacks. This will mean that there will be a greater flood of projects on this free marketplace, and it may result in discoverability challenges, lower prices, lower sales, but it makes it much easier to get started. Excuse me. One of the other things is that we're going to see today, when we build on Polygon, we don't have the option to put things up for auction. So auction-based releases are only on Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain, on OpenSea, maybe a few others, but not on the free Polygon option. So you can still sell, but you can't sell at auction. You can't like put something up for an auction that's a time-based release. So you're going to refresh your OpenSea page and click on MetaMask now under Create and enter your password. So this isn't your secret phrase. This is the normal password that you created at the beginning of the setup of your MetaMask account. So if you're already signed into MetaMask, it just may pop up with your account information already there. But for those of you who are following along, go ahead and head back to OpenSea and head to Create and use that password if you need to. So give everybody a minute to do that. And your account should now be there. So you'll click Next, and then you'll click Connect. So you'll see your account will show up here, and you'll make sure that it's checked, and you'll click Next. And then it'll probably have a prompt here of some kind. It may not have a check mark anymore, but you'll just say Connect, and then it'll move you forward to your OpenSea account. So before you click Create again at the top to start with making your first NFT, you'll want to go into settings by clicking on the gear icon over here. And that way you can make your profile more specific. So rather than be unnamed and a colored dot, you can actually make your account personal. So go to this icon over here on the right. Do people need a minute to do that? Right, sounds like people are able to follow along. Okay. Go ahead, Charlotte, take your time. That should be on that home page when you first log in. Just to the right of your unnamed profile here. And then once you're there, you'll be prompted one more time to sign in, probably for terms and conditions for OpenSea as you're updating your profile. Go ahead and fill this out and add a picture. So you can just say sign, right? This is just to verify your account and that you'll be responsible for any gas fees and that sort of thing. You can click sign. And then from there, you can set up your profile. You can add a picture to represent yourself, but it doesn't have to be. It doesn't have to be a headshot. You can use a gallery or brand logo. And note that your wallet address is at the bottom, so you can easily copy it from there if you need it. That's one place that you can easily find it. And you'll hit the save icon once you've finished filling out this information. Where did the signature request come from? So this is a MetaMask notification that you may get as you hop into your profile. Sometimes MetaMask will prompt you to sort of finish setting up certain aspects. If you didn't get that pop-up, then you're probably fine. It probably has already gone through this process for you, or they may prompt you later on. But just wanted to let you know if it does pop up, just go ahead and sign. MetaMask, sometimes when you're first integrating and you're first getting all of this set up, MetaMask will like pop up randomly and ask you to do things. If not, then it's already taken care of it and it's going smoothly, so it's not a problem. Okay. So once you've set that up, then you're going to click create again up at the top. Now, I'm going to warn you, I'm being a little sneaky. I'm going to cause us to run into an issue so that we have to go back because I want to expose something within the platform. So just know we may have to go through this process again a little later, so pay attention, but it'll be much faster the second time around. So we'll click create at the top of the menu and you can begin creating your NFT. And you can upload, you'll see they give you this form here to create a new item. And you can upload various different kinds of file types, but certainly not all file types. So the file types that you are allowed to upload are JPEG, PNG, GIF, SVG, MP4, WebM, MP3, WAV, OGG, GLB, GLTF, and that your NFT file max size is 100 megabytes. So you are limited by these factors, and keep that in mind. If you're uploading a very long or high-res video, it may need to be compressed. Also, if you are trying to decide between a JPEG or a PNG, save it as a PNG. PNG keeps additional detailing that JPEGs don't. So it'll be a better quality image that you're providing to those that you're selling. And it'll make it more appealing to those who are buying. OpenSea doesn't actually track that much artist metadata, unfortunately. They allow you to link to a page where that information can be found. They require more information around the formation of a collection because the platform has been used mostly to create these character type 10K projects or 10,000 characters or file projects. And you can add or skip this information depending on your project needs, but I want to point out a few things and why it's important. Moving items to a different collection also may take 30 minutes. So just keep that in mind. If you are creating more than one NFT, OpenSea will just create a single page for your item. So let's quickly break down some of these properties, levels, and stats. If you create a collection, it can be useful to add properties, levels, and stats if you have a collection similar to this one, what's called a 10K. Essentially, it's variation on a theme, and you create 10,000 of these files. So each of these show up underneath your item, these properties, levels, and stats. And they're clickable and can be used to filter your collection's sidebar, essentially. It creates easier browse navigation for buyers who might want to find something specific within your collection. Properties are distinctive features that you think people may want to filter by. So levels are helpful if you're reproducing something with slight variations or making multiples of an item, and you want to list it as print 3 of 5 or something along those lines. Stats are a way of representing the rarity of particular features within a collection, and it's particularly important for this 10K medium that I've been describing. So a 10K collection is a collection of 10,000 items with variations on certain features, making some combinations more common and others very rare. For example, in this Rocket Shiba collection, and yes, Jonathan, I agree, they are very cute. Animals do very well on these platforms. I can see how this particular item matches up against the rest in the collection, right? And then I can filter by a property like cool sunglasses, these shades here that are on my Shibu, my Rocket Shiba. And basically, I can be shown other items in the collection with that property. And even from here, we can see that this pilot cap, for example, right, seems a little more common, but the background of the green flames, for example, or this rainbow hair, that's more rare. So this is how value is generated within a 10K collection. And we'll talk about this style or medium of NFT more later on. But I just wanted to point that out now so that you know what properties, levels, and stats are asking for and what it's all about. It's really related in many cases to, at least stats in particular, is related to this 10K collection format. And you can use properties and levels in other ways too, but that's what they were originally sort of used for. So unlockable content, you may be, as you're making your way through, right? Unlockable content is sometimes referred to as minting. Minting is a term that gets thrown around a lot, but it's really been applied in two different ways that we see frequently. The primary way that you hear it is in reference to the launch or release of an NFT through one of these blockchain platforms. By the way, as you're filling out your NFT form, if you increase the supply beyond one, you are allowing for multiple people to own the same item in their wallet. So this decreases the rarity and can drive down the price. Essentially, what you're doing is you're turning it into a print, right? It allows more than one person to sort of own a copy of it. Once that supply is set, it can't be changed. So likewise, once you pick which blockchain you are minting on, you are locked into that platform in theory. In this case, that's either Ethereum or Polygon because of the way that you've set up your wallet. If you link up with a different kind of wallet that can carry different kinds of currency, like Phantom, so the Phantom app application is a different kind of wallet, Phantom wallet. I'll put that in the chat for you. Actually, let's see if I can link that. There we go. So Phantom is another kind of wallet, and that can carry Sol, which is a cryptocurrency that runs on the Solana blockchain. Or there's Clayton. Clayton is another kind of blockchain. The Clayton Foundation is the website, which is an open source public blockchain. And then you can mint on those blockchains instead. So this is going back to that question that we had earlier from Charlotte, I believe. If you're using a certain kind of wallet, then you'll be able to mint on that particular blockchain. If you use a different kind of wallet, then you can mint on other kinds of blockchains. So I hope that answers your question. And I said in theory before, because nothing's stopping you from doing this process over again, but selecting another blockchain. All you really need, or all you're really doing when you do this, is that you're reserving an ID number in connection with a file. So for this demo, I suggest that you choose Polygon so that you won't have to deal with any fees until you sell your NFT. So Polygon basically means that you don't have to have pay any gas fees up front. You just pay them once your NFT sells. So we can go through this process and you can get the whole experience without having to have any currency in the wallet. So here's another way that the word mint sometimes gets used. That's a little different and a little more specific. So in other cases, mint is more specifically means that you are purchasing an item usually at a lower price because it has content that will be revealed to you after the purchase. It can simply be info like the artist's contact information so that the buyer can get in touch with you. Or, for example, on this other platform, this is a little more complicated. For example, this crypto zoo collection allows you to buy an egg rather than a final animal, like a final full-blown animal that they also have available. So instead, you could buy the egg for a little bit less, and then it will hatch, and you'll find out what you get in that animal kingdom. So it's a bit of a surprise inside sort of thing. And so maybe you get something that's actually really rare and really valuable, or maybe you get something that's really common. But it adds this element of surprise and is really engaging for an audience that gets invested in this type of thing, right? Obviously, this is a type of sales tactic that's been used in many other markets. Obviously, toys, you can instantly think of toys, right? Where you soak the thing in water and then you find out what it is, or you get the egg and you open it up and you see what's inside. It's the same type of thing, just being generated through an NFT collection model. So one final thing, there's a toggle where you can flag your material for explicit content, and it will be marked as such on OpenSea, so use that as needed. But that is part of the platform. They do enable that. So there are levels of explicit content within the platform, so that can be monitored. Now, once you've hit create, your item will be launched. And launched does not mean that it's for sale yet. But for this demo, I've used a picture of myself and called it test. But I can share that NFT page that's on OpenSea now, and that would be like hanging a picture in the gallery, but I haven't put a sticker price on it yet. right? So that's the equivalent, is that people can see it, people know that it's there, but I haven't told anybody how much it costs, and it's not technically for sale yet. Does that make sense? Do people have questions about that? Hopefully you've had a chance to find a file that you want to mint, and you've added that, and you've been able to at least launch your first NFT. And you can see at the top that OpenSea has generated an untitled collection automatically for me. Remember this at this point, because we're going to go back to it later. Like I said, we're kind of doing something wrong in order for me to prove how the platform's working so that we can correct it later and learn how to do it right all the way through, just so that you don't ever make that mistake again. I haven't frozen the metadata for this item, so I can go back in and change things, but it's change things about it still, right? That's easy to do, like add more properties, change the title, or update the description using the edit at the top right corner. So right over here, right, that'll let me go back in and adjust these things as needed. If I wanted to delete my NFT, I could also use the edit button to do so. So if I decided I want to take this NFT down, get rid of it, re-upload it on a different blockchain, I can do that through the edit button. When I'm ready to sell it, I'll click on sell at the top right next to the edit button. And if you are minting on the Ethereum blockchain, you will end up paying a gas fee. Again, this varies, but lately, well, about 5 months ago, it was around $200 US. It's probably less than that now, but it really does vary. So you'll want to make sure that you have more than enough in your MetaMask wallet to cover those fees, and make sure you're charging enough in the sale to cover those gas fees. And if you're minting on Polygon, you might not have to worry about those gas fees, but you still have to deal with a 2.5% transaction fee upon sale. So keep that in mind. I'm including more info about that in the notes here, about the fees, and I can copy and paste that in the chat if you have, if you want to read a little bit more about that. But what a lot of artists do is that they make sure that their prices for their artworks include whatever it's going to cost them in gas fees or transaction fees, so that those are always covered, and then they add whatever their fee is for the particular work on top of that. So that's factored in. So that's why some of also these works are more expensive, because artists are having to sort of foot the bill for all of this computation in order for the transaction to happen. But also, before we sell, we need to go into our Untitled collection page and adjust some things using the collections editor. So if we click on the Untitled collection above the item title, right? So we'll see this is our collection, and this is our item. If we click on this pencil here, right? Then from the collection page, or like I said, we'll click on the, Untitled collection above your collection title. So that's here. It's where you can find the collection that it's a part of. And obviously we don't want it in an untitled collection. So once we're there, then we can click on this pen in the upper right-hand corner, and that will allow us to edit the collection. Is anybody having issues finding that? I want to give everybody a second to locate those things. That's okay, following along? Okay, feel free to type in the chat if I'm going too fast. So the top half is mostly to help you better identify what the collection is, and add logos, and identifying visual material, and attach descriptions and social media information that you want associated with the collection. And then as you go down, I want to draw your attention to the bottom half where you can see that we allowed for an automatic collection to be generated, and it was generated on the Ethereum blockchain instead. So an automatic generation defaults to the Ethereum blockchain, even if you choose Polygon. Don't ask me why it does this. The OpenSea hasn't figured it out, I guess. So even though the item is on the Polygon blockchain, the collection is on the Ethereum blockchain. And it's less expensive to be on the Polygon blockchain. So I'm going to delete this collection and start everything over in these slides so that it's on the same blockchain. And that's why I gave you a warning up front that we were going to sort of do this wrong in order to do it right later. Because obviously people tend to think of, well, I create the individual NFT first, and then I can create multiple NFTs and form a collection. Well, in this case, the platform really wants you to create the collection first and then fill it with NFTs. And through the collection editor, we can also make sure to add royalties to our items so that we make sure we are making passive income on future sales. So that's what's really important here in terms of setting up our collection, first and foremost. And I'll show you how to add that in a minute, but I'm including more info again on that in the notes, and I'll copy and paste that into the chat so everyone can take a look if you're interested. So I'm using this button at the bottom then to delete the collection, and we're going to do this again, but just wanted to let you all know that we did it wrong in order to do it right. So this is a common mistake that happens, and a lot of tutorials out there don't. They just quickly show you how to make an NFT, and they don't show you that you actually need to set up the collection first and set up your royalties, how you want that to work before you actually make the NFT. So we're going to start again, and this time don't click create. Instead, select your profile menu and then click my collections. Then select the blue button on the page that says add new collection. That's how you should actually start this process to make sure that all your NFTs that you're minting are going to be on the same blockchain. Yes, everyone gets that? So I'm going to use a different photo to indicate that this is my new collection that I'm creating. And then I'm going to set up my royalty. I'm going to set up my royalties, and I'm going to add a 10 for my royalty fee. See that here, the percentage, and that's pretty standard. To receive royalties, I need to provide them with my MetaMask wallet address. And this is like giving someone your bank account routing number so that they can wire you money. You're not giving away your secret passphrase or anything like that. You're just giving them the number to which they can give you cryptocurrency. So if you remember, you can find that easily a few different ways on the platform. You can go to your profile page, and up at the top menu, and you can hover over the weird number underneath your profile name, that sort of ... thing. That's actually your account number. So hovering over that, it'll let you copy it. And so you're going to go ahead and do that. I recommend doing this in a separate tab so that you don't disrupt what you're doing in the collections editor. And so once you've copied that wallet address, you're going to go back to your collections editor and paste it there. So remember that you can also find that wallet address on your profile page at the bottom. So there's a couple different ways that you can find that wallet information. Charlotte, Alex, those who are following along, Isabel, have I lost you? Am I going too fast? Let me know if I need to slow down. Not seeing anything in the chat, so I'm assuming that means it's going well. Yeah, all good. Okay, great. Thank you. All good. Okay. So once that's pasted, you want to select Polygon and add the blockchain for that collection. And you can add other payment tokens if you'd like. Like I said, if you choose to mint this on, you can choose to create different blockchains, right? So, and use different kinds of currency payment tokens. So Polygon supports Polygon Ethereum by default, but you can also add Polygon DAI, Polygon USDC, and Polygon Rev. And like I said, these things update depending on what's happening in the market. So more payment tokens are added over time. So you'll want to check back, or if you have a particular currency that you're looking to use, you can always check back and see if it's now available on OpenSea. You can select the layout that you want to use to display your collection items, and again, adjust the toggle if your content is in any way explicit. There's a limited option here, but it does sort of affect how your work will be viewed. So obviously the square, not everything is square, so this allows for contained, whatever the asset is. This is padded, and this is really sort of a thumbnail cover image. So choose which one you like best for your collection. And then finally, a cool thing that's been added in the past several months is the ability to add collaborators to your collection. So collaborators can then have collective control and receive payments for items they create for the collection. And they can't change any of the earnings or the payout address, for example, but they at least can receive royalties and such for their collaboration efforts. So for example, if someone created a collection of different patterns and you took that collection of patterns and used it behind your Shiba Inus, right? Or your really cute frogs that you create with different hats and different variations, but you used their patterns, you could give them royalties as part of your collection, and actually should give them royalties as part of your collection because you're using their work. So you're changing their work, obviously, to create new work. So under, obviously this would be probably a collaboration that you would have negotiated, but this is a great way for everybody to sort of make money as sales continue in this different way. So once that's done, so this is the new page you can see with the collaborators added there. Once that's done, you'll click create at the bottom, and you can go back and make edits to a collection, and then you would just submit changes. You see that here, and you can always choose to delete a collection if you wish. If you decide you want to take it down, if that project's over for you, all of that, you can always delete the collection. Now, we add a new item to this collection, just like we did before, and we click on Add Item in the upper right-hand corner. So this is slightly different than Create. Now we're in the collection, and then we click Add Item. And since we did this before, it should be familiar. You'll notice that what's changed is that now the item is listed in connection with a collection. So you'll see that that collection has been added here, and you can actually select that. If you want to make sure, you'll want to make sure, I should say, that the supply is set to 1 and that the blockchain is set to Polygon. And when you're ready, you'll hit create. So one of these, and so it's a 1-for-1, right? And it'll be on the blockchain, Polygon, and then you'll click create. So when you're on the new item page, you can click sell in the upper right corner and you're ready to list your NFT. You'll start by deciding how much you want to list your NFT for. You're listing in crypto, so when you type in a number, you'll see the current corresponding rate in US dollars under the field on the right. For example, so for here, right, we see when I did this a month ago, 5 months ago, it was about $40. Today, if you did it today, 0.01, you'll see it's approximately $20. And please note that the list price and listing schedule cannot be edited once the item is listed. You'll need to cancel your listing and relist the item with the updated price and dates if you want to change it. So listing is free on Polygon. Once you sold, the fee will be deducted. And I'm using or including documentation here about that. I think this is a similar link to one that I've shown you before. You'll also notice now that a creator royalty is included, right? That's been added. So hooray for that. So that means 10% every time this photo, this NFT resells. And now you're all set. You can click complete listing and you're done. That's how you mint an NFT. So first I have to submit a transaction to unlock the currency within my wallet. So this is sort of the final detail process of minting your NFT. This is the place where fees can be incurred usually, but because we're using Polygon, we won't be dealing with any of that. So you'll see a MetaMask pop up and it will ask you to sign in to complete your transaction. So go ahead and do that, right? You're going to unlock and then you're going to click sign. And you'll then essentially sign for the transaction. So you'll hit sign. Notice at the bottom that it will tell you the transaction was successful. And then the MetaMask window pops up and you'll hit sign again. So it's letting you've got two signs that you have to do. And now you've now you've successfully listed your NFT. You can share it to get people interested in it. The one thing to note is that you can't sell your NFT via auction, like I said, when you're listing on the Polygon blockchain. Excuse me. So if you've listed it on the Ethereum blockchain, you'll have that option, but not on the Polygon blockchain. This is sort of one of the drawbacks to using a free listing blockchain platform. But either way, people can submit an offer to you that is different from what you've listed. So you can choose to accept or reject those offers. So some people may choose to offer you a little bit less. And if you're interested, you can always accept that offer, or you can wait till you get your asking price. So there we go. Does anybody have questions about that? Or did I lose anyone in those last couple of steps? No questions? If you did mint an NFT, feel free to share it in the chat. You can click on the link and share it with us, and we can all see your NFT that you chose to mint. By all means, that would be fun. I'm going to quickly mention an alternative platform, which is solsea.io. And let me copy and paste this into the chat so you can check it out for yourself. So this platform uses the Solana blockchain. So you'll need to set up a different wallet that's compatible and can support Solana NFTs. And the Phantom app or plugin wallet will help you do that. So that I mentioned earlier, that's a wallet that can carry Sol. And so you'll add Sol, or said add Sol to the cryptocurrency that runs on the blockchain within your wallet. And I recommend using something like MoonPay or Coinbase to buy some SOL using US dollars and then transfer it to your Phantom wallet. So that's one way of getting set up. You'll go to solseed.io and connect your Phantom wallet and make an account, just like you did with OpenSea, very similar. And again, just like OpenSea, you'll select create and then select NFT and fill out the relevant information. You'll upload your file and then you'll mint it just the same way that we did on OpenSea. It's very, very similar. You'll approve the transaction to pay for the gas fees. This will likely cost you less than 1 cent in US dollars. So this is why a lot of people use Sol instead and are using solseed.io as an alternative because the gas fees are so much lower. Obviously, it is not as competitive of a marketplace as OpenSea, right? The sort of heavy hitters right now, the 10K series are over in OpenSea, but this is a more eco-friendly platform. And so a lot of artists who care about that are migrating over there. So I do think it is a worthy competitor. And then you can go to list to set up, to set price and to list your NFTs for sale. I'm including an Instagram video by an artist that uses this platform in the notes, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. And she provides visuals for this walkthrough if you'd like them. So that's an option to go through this tutorial with somebody and sort of see it all in action. You can do that through this little Instagram video. But essentially, it's all laid out for you here. If you follow these steps, you'll be able to mint a Solana NFT. Now, another blockchain that's very popular with artists is Tezos, which was developed for evolution over time. For example, Tezland is a virtual world and marketplace for 3D NFT work that is built with the Tezos blockchain. And I'm going to quickly demo Tezland or Tezland, as it's called sometimes too. But I'm also including a tutorial here that will get you even more familiar with the virtual world and the NFT marketplace and platform. I'll drop Tezland link in the chat so you can follow along if you'd like. I'm just going to pop it up in here. I'm hoping that the law of demos is on my side today, and that this goes smoothly. Okay, so once we're here, we'll click Explore to actually go into the marketplace. And I'm going to turn off my camera just temporarily because this is a virtual world, so it may slow things down, and I think turning off the camera will help. So you'll see I'm now in a sort of 3D platform, and I can use the WASD keys to move around or the arrow keys. I can click and drag to look around. You'll see that I'm actually in a virtual world here. Now, if I move this way, the creator of Tezland, this is his particular plot. And you'll see all of these different plots are available for sale. So you can buy land in Tezland, and then you can purchase items and place them here, and then they can be resold as well, or they can just be on display. So it's both collection and auction based or gallery based, right? These things can be priced. But as I highlight over, it'll tell you, I can get information about certain items. It'll tell me how much it costs. Like for obviously the trees are not collectible, but this work is. It's worth one Tezos. Move around, see different items. Right, this one's not collectible either. These are all purchased and placed by that particular owner. So people use this for different things. They can create their own little environments, or they can use it to sell their artworks on their plots. So this one's 2 tezos, 0.446 tezos. So all these different objects are worth different things. That one's not collectible. So this is an alternative, right? You can actually see how 3D objects can be sold in a more immersive way. I'm going to go ahead and close down Tezland, but I recommend that you play around a little bit more with that platform. It's really quite cool. But I do want to move on to some tips if you're thinking of working in this arena moving forward. Turn my camera back on. Hopefully, I think we're all synced up. Okay. So I had the opportunity to speak with a creator of a successful NFT 10K series, Catblocks. And I'm going to share a few of his insights with you, which were really helpful. Well, there are obviously constraints to creating NFTs. We've talked about things like file types and file sizes and gas fees. The variable rarity does allow for creatives to experiment within those sets of parameters. His advice is that if it's important to just jump in and play. Really, that's what this community has been built on. It's a community that's quite open, and most people grow within the field by getting involved and just making things. There's really, I think there's now becoming right and wrong ways of doing things, but in the start, it was really just about sort of play and experimentation. It was really open and supportive. One thing that has been standardized at this point, though, is this 10K collection series, to the point where we might think of it as a medium in itself. Because 10Ks are now well established, there are many ways to create brand partnerships with NFT releases that combine currency, collectibles, community, and marketing. The key here is to create an incentive structure for the community so that there's an increase in the value of the things that they hold. So it happens through understanding your community, your audience well, and what they find valuable, whether it's access to a greater network of individuals or classes to learn how to do certain things, or stuff, both physical or virtual, that they want to own. One example of this sort of more concretely would be things like Ask Me Anything sessions or AMAs with artists. So you might, if you own a particular NFT series that an artist comes up with, maybe they do gallery work, maybe they do other kinds of work, but if you buy one of their NFTs, then you would get invited to a special Ask Me Anything series. So you get a sort of one-on-one conversation with that artist where you can talk to them about anything that you want to. Things like fireside chats, similarly, right? Or in real life events, IRL events, or meetups. So maybe it would be like holding a membership. So, for example, there's been partnerships with meditation communities, right? So they would do special meditation retreats if you hold a particular NFT. And so this is a way that content creators around NFTs have been partnering with businesses to add incentive to their NFT collections, or utility, right? As we talked about before. Another example would be DAL drops. And I'm going to add a link in the chat. So, I'm sorry, I didn't send Tezland to everybody. So that's the link to Tezland. Here's the link to DAL drops, a little bit more information about DAL launches. But DAL drops are exclusive rewards that are airdropped directly to DAL token holders. So it helps reward people who stake DAL as a cryptocurrency. Staking means that you agree to hold on to your crypto for a certain period of time, no matter if it goes up or goes down in value. So staking can help stabilize a currency, and it essentially allows for marketplace control. And DAO rewards those who stake with NFTs. Other cryptocurrencies may allow you to earn certain levels of interest if you stake your investment with them. That's just this. So DAO's particular way of rewarding is through dropping NFT tokens on their users who stake. For Jacobin ETH of Catblocks, Catblocks as a project was a vehicle for programming, and it became, and it's because a community who helped program these releases together with the Catblocks team that he felt they were really successful. So people participate if you let them, and there's a value to providing levels of community control. That input from them becomes actually an asset. They're invested in terms of time and attention. So those people become the core supporters of your NFT collection. There are also some things to be on your guard for when getting involved, and there are practices that are frowned upon. So some of these are things like allow lists or whitelists, get lists. It's essentially a exclusive pre-sale of NFTs, and these are sometimes at a reduced price. It can drive up prices and give and can become a form of gatekeeping in many ways. So essentially, this is for it can be a way of rewarding investors, right? People who've invested money in programmers who've created these NFTs, but also it has this other effect of gatekeeping and not allowing free market enterprise to happen, that there's people that have pre-sale rights essentially. And I am including some links here to resources, articles that cover this history and cultural phenomenon in case you want to read more about it. But there's also just major publicity pushes and campaigns that you've probably seen already. People from the outside of the community that will come in and hype something up. Most of this is happening through Discord channels in many cases, but there's other, online crypto news platforms, just tech news blogs and things like that where this happens. And it's important not to get swept up too quickly in this kind of a hype. So try to really spend time in a Discord or in a community to get to know the players before jumping in and making any kind of big investment. And this goes for its practical sense for most anything, but it is important to remember. A lot of people see this as a get rich quick kind of thing. And so it's important that you know the people that you're getting involved with. And some things are more malicious, and Jacobin ETH really wanted me to point this out, for example, that people will hack into a Discord channel and ask people there to urgently help mint something. He's seen this many, many times, and people get taken advantage of. They may make themselves look like they're admins or claim that they need help with something like gas fees so that they can make the drop happen right away. Jacobin ETH was really clear. No one reputable is going to post something without prior warning. There's not going to be a sudden drop of a new 10K series or something like that out of the blue. No surprises, not to this extent. There will be community announcements and marketing that an NFT collection is going to be dropped in advance. So don't get scammed into paying crypto to other people because they're like, oh, I need help to mint this thing right away so that it launches on time. We had some screw-ups or whatever it may be. Don't get sucked into that. Also, in terms of bad practices, or I should say in terms of best practices, make sure that you, again, protect your wallet phrase like you would a PIN code or social security number. Treat it in the same way. Another thing would be to have what's called a hot wallet and a cold wallet. You don't have to keep your cryptocurrency in a wallet connected to the internet all the time. Hot wallet is connected to the internet, things like Coinbase, that's an example of a hot wallet. A cold wallet is offline. So understanding the key differences between a hot versus cold wallet helps you decide how to keep your crypto assets safe, as well as make sure they're accessible when you need them to be. So it's a sort of choice on how you want to do this. But I'm going to quote from a recent article about the difference, just so that they're clear. So a hot wallet is often more accessible and can be connected to the platform you trade on, such as a Coinbase wallet. This makes it easier to use in transactions across the internet. Many hot wallets are even free. However, a hot wallet could be more vulnerable to hackers. A cold wallet, on the other hand, offers storage that isn't online all the time. Paper wallets or an offline computer are also considered to be a cold wallet, although these days most traders opt for specific hardware designed to store crypto, like a Trezor wallet. You'll hear about some of those, or even a USB. These are alternative ways that you can store your cryptocurrency. So they are considered more secure since they can only be accessed in specific ways. A hardware wallet is designed to be thief-proof. Even when plugged into a computer and connected to the internet, the funds can't be stolen with these, or so that they're more secure in that way, as the transaction has to be authorized or signed by the device itself. So they are a little less accessible than a hot wallet, since you have to get the key for the transaction. And cold wallets are more expensive as well, with the hardware for this kind of wallet costing anywhere between $50 to $200. So again, I'll put that link in the chat in case you want to read more from that article. But it's sort of just around best practices. It's good to have at least the knowledge of these two things, and to know that you have an option to store your crypto offline, off of these apps if you need to. If you're not a coder and not interested in learning how to code, there are options for releasing a 10K collection that are out there for you. This process can be automated using applications like Sweaty NFT. So Sweaty NFT is an all-in-one NFT toolset for artists. Using the platform, you can generate up to 10,000 unique randomly generated artworks. It helps you to launch an NFT collection to Ethereum, Polygon, or Tezos blockchains. And the tokens you create can be sold through a marketplace, a minting page, or an existing website. So you have many different options. I'm including a tutorial video here that will walk you through that process if you're interested in creating your own 10K collection without coding. Essentially, you'll need something like Photoshop, and you'll create sort of the background and then the various features. So maybe you'll have different faces, you'll have different hairstyles, you'll have different clothing styles, and those become your variations. And then the program allows you to automatically generate different colors based on a color palette that you choose, and different kinds of variation, so different levels of rarity. And that way you can control the level to which the uniqueness and random that's randomly generated within these things, but you don't actually have to do any of the coding yourself. So that's a great option if you're interested in trying out a 10K collection or have an idea for a 10K collection. There are a lot more things that can be discussed in regards to NFT and art production. I know a friend of mine who's been a successful digital artist, I mentioned earlier. He wrote an article just recently that talks about issues of ownership and the politics of art making and the art market. Art as a way to make a living, and contracts and intellectual property and protections, IP protections and considerations. So I hope you'll check that out. He also, like I said, at the bottom, toward the end of the article, shows his NFT smart contract that he's created so that you can use it as a template if you wish. So it's another really great resource if you're interested in that. So before we end, I want to quickly show you one more thing. I know we have 9 minutes left, so I think we can get through these slides in that time. This is how you make your own Ethereum or mine your own Ethereum with Phoenix Miner. You can earn bits of Ethereum token by allowing others to process jobs, computing jobs on your machine with your machine's computing power. So that's what Phoenix Miner allows you to do. So what you're going to do is you're going to start by going to phoenixminer.info. I'll type that or place that in the chat. So you'll this I should say this application only runs on Windows 64 and Linux 64 systems. So sorry to any Mac users. And you will need a machine with a fairly decent graphics card, either AMD or NVIDIA. Older computers or computers not designed for heavy graphics processing may not be up to the task of mining Ethereum, just so that you know in advance. And I'll show you later on what that looks like if a computer isn't able to do it, so that you know if your machine isn't up to the task. But also just to point out that you will, every 90 minutes, the miner will mine for the application's company itself. And it's only for 35 seconds out of 95 minutes. So it's a very, very little amount compared to the bulk of it's going to you. Okay, so what you'll do is you'll go to phoenixminer.info on that page to download. And then you're going to scroll down and choose the latest zip folder. I'm going to be demoing a Windows installation today. So select the 6.2C for Windows in that zip file. See that down at the bottom. So these are the previous versions. You're going to want to get the most recent. And once you click on that, you may get a warning as it starts to download. Go ahead and select Keep to continue. And it's really just making sure that this isn't any potentially threatening software. And I've never had any issues with it. So once it is finished downloading, select Show in Folder, and then right-click and extract all of the files. And then you'll follow the prompts and unzip and an unzip file will be created. So this is just a typical process for opening a zip file, right? This should all seem fairly familiar, I would expect to most of you. So you'll go into that extracted file folder and you'll see all the related application files. You're going to right click on the startminer.bat file. And you remember you're right clicking. If you just click on it, it's going to start mining immediately. You don't want to do that. You want to actually right click on it and then show more options, and a new menu will appear and you want to click edit. So you want to edit this file. That's essentially what you want to get at. So you want to be able to edit this startminer.bat file. And this bat file tells the Phoenix Miner application where to credit the mined Ethereum. So we need to update the wallet address there. And you're going to substitute the set of numbers after -WAL, right? So these numbers with the wallet address before the .rig here, right? The wallet address you can use is the MetaMask wallet address that you used earlier today. Same wallet address. So if you copy that and paste that here, it'll start mining and giving credit to that particular wallet. The .rig portion here is the machine identifier. So for example, if you're running this program on more than one machine, but you want the Ethereum token to be transferred to the same wallet address, then you'll update this .rig to say .rig002 or .rig003, or it can be anything, dot, Francesca's computer 1, Francesca's computer 2. It really can say anything here, but that's just the rig is just essentially the machine identifier number. So you can run this program on multiple machines and have it contributing to the same wallet. So once you've made these updates, don't save as to update the file. So you don't want to create a second file. You want to replace the file that was there, and then you can close it out. So once you've done that, you've saved the file, and you can close it out, and you're done. Now you're going to go back to that start-miner.bat file and double click it, and you'll begin mining. And you may be prompted to allow access for the program to run on your machine. But it should you'll start to see things fill in here as it starts to run. I think I have an example here. Hopefully it'll run automatically. Yes. So this is what it looks like if your computer doesn't have the processing power. You'll get these sort of red error messages. And it'll let you know that it's not able to do the processing needed to actually start mining. And so if you want to know the status of your miners and how much they are mining, you can go to ethermine.org, and I'll drop that in the chat for you to check out. And add your wallet address and hit search. It will pull up your info and let you know your hash rates, your active workers, and your estimated earnings. You'll be automatically paid out once you've mined one whole Ethereum token, and you can cash out earlier, but you'll have to pay gas fees. So as we've discussed, those can fluctuate a bit. So it's best to sort of wait till it pays out automatically. And essentially what it does is it just puts that in your wallet, and then you can choose what you want to do from there with that currency. So that's all I have for today. I think we're right at the 2 o'clock mark. Happy minting and mining. Please let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to stay around for a little while afterwards if there are any questions. And you can feel free to email me with any questions that you have as well.